I've always found SANDMARC products to be pretty high quality. They're built well, the lenses are high grade, and the filters are pretty decent too. They've sent me a whole bunch of stuff, so let's unpack it. They've sent me 2 cases. We've got a basic one and there's a kind of faux leather one. Both of them have dual 17mm threaded mounts for the iPhone. So I'm using an iPhone 15 Pro here, and we got threads over the main camera and the ultra-wide camera. And these threads are used to mount the lenses and filters. The other case is what they call the Pro Leather case. So it's not real leather, but it is compatible with MagSafe wireless charging. Next we have the SANDMARC cloud filters. And these are basically mist filters. So you can use these to create a glow around lights at night. They also even out the contrast and reduce the detail on your subject. And that just tends to be a bit more flattering, especially in bright direct sunlight, which you can't control. The mist filters give videos and photos a certain dreamy look, and they can also help to soften the areas of the image where there is high contrast between light and dark areas. For example, if you're inside during the day, a mist filter is going to add a little bit of glow and a little bit of softness around the windows. If you want to learn how to shoot cinematic video with your smartphone, think about taking my 9-day course on Patreon. And of course, the link is in the description of this video. These 43mm filters come with a universal clip-on mount, and you can also use the case to mount them, but you are going to need a step-up ring like this. Now, unfortunately, the one they have sent me is actually the wrong size, but I believe this is their old filter size, which was the 40.3mm, and the new system is 43mm, which is good because it's a standard camera filter size. I presume you can use other 43mm filters on it. They don't have to be SANDMARC filters. The filters can also be mounted to the lenses, including the 6x Telephoto. So this is the 6x Telephoto. It's pretty heavy, as you would expect, but it is solid and it is well made. So you're going to need to use the case to mount this lens to your phone because it's going to be too heavy for a clip. But it does come with a nice carry case. It's got caps on both ends, pouch, and there's a belt clip as well. In fact, all the SANDMARC lenses come with the same, with a case, pouch, and a belt clip. There's also a filter mount, so you can mount 43mm ND filters, mist filters, or any other 43mm photography filters. Now, this lens doesn't quite work like other conversion lenses. After spending a few hours testing this lens, I found that it does come with a few challenges. Firstly, the autofocus of your iPhone isn't going to work with this lens. So you need to do that manually using the focus ring on the lens like you do with a regular camera lens. At first, I tried using the 6x Tele over the main camera and then using the iPhone's native camera app, and I just left it in autofocus. But this way, I found that it was quite hard to get the focus right. And after a while, I realized that the autofocus of the iPhone is kind of adjusting a little bit at the same time that I was adjusting the focus. So what I did was then I tried locking focus by long pressing on the screen. But this still didn't get the best result from the lens. Now, sometimes it was good, sometimes it wasn't. Finally, I used a camera app which allowed me to lock the iPhone's focus at a specific set point, and this was the best solution. I just used the free Blackmagic app to do this, and I found that setting the focus at around 0.4 or 0.39, that got me the best results. So it should work the same every time I use this lens. Secondly, like with any telephoto, it is a bit of a challenge to keep the iPhone and 6x telephoto stable. The best way to get stable footage is to mount this setup on a tripod, because you're going to find that the iPhone's inbuilt stabilization has no effect. But I was able to hold the camera in my hands and keep it fairly stable and then add some stabilization when editing. One thing I do like about this lens is being able to shoot a real focus pull. But again, it's not straightforward. If you have the iPhone on a tripod, as you turn the focus ring, it wobbles the camera. The best results I got was when I held the tripod in my hand with the iPhone and the 6x Tele mounted on it, and the tripod just gives it a bit of extra weight, and that stops the camera wobbling around too much. So I recorded some focus pulls, and then I added stabilization when I was editing. The new iPhones have a 2x setting, and that basically crops in on the main sensor without costing you any quality in the video. And we can use this setting in combination with the 6x to get a kind of double magnification. So I guess that would make it a 12x. Another thing to bear in mind with this lens is the long minimum focus, which is 16 feet or about 5 meters. Anything closer than that is going to be out of focus. And one final thing, the lens reduces the light reaching the sensor quite a bit. So this is useful for bright conditions because we can reduce our shutter speed a bit, but it's not so good in low light conditions. So it's fun to use. I wonder how much it's going to add if you have an iPhone 15 Pro Max with a 5x telephoto. Do you really need a 6x telephoto? But what it does add is the feel of an authentic camera lens. And as well, like all conversion lenses, the extra glass adds character to an otherwise sterile looking digital video. You're going to get chromatic aberrations and perhaps a little bit of extra softness, but maybe that's not a bad thing. The 58mm telephoto adds a 2x magnification, and it comes with a case, a pouch and a universal clip, but I do recommend that you use the case if possible. The problem with clips is they're just not secure, and the clip covers part of the screen of the iPhone. Do we really need a 2x telephoto? Well, maybe you have an iPhone that doesn't have a telephoto. For example, the iPhone 15 doesn't have a true telephoto, it just crops in for a 2x magnification. Another reason is that you can place it over the main camera, which has the best quality sensor. As well, conversion lenses add character. And like I say, character just means chromatic aberrations, a little bit of softness maybe, and this is going to make the image more interesting, less sterile. So I did like the look of this lens for portraits. Here I'm comparing it to using the regular main camera at 1x setting and the iPhone 15 Pro's 3x telephoto. I'd say it definitely looks nicer than the inbuilt telephoto. The natural background bokeh looks nicer to me, and you can really see the difference in sensor quality here. At first glance, you might not see much difference, but look a little bit closer and you're going to see the main sensor plus the SANDMARC 58mm produces a higher quality image. It's more like a regular camera with a big lens. The 58mm Tele doesn't have the same issues with autofocus and stabilization like the 6x does, so you can just use it as normal in that respect. And again, the 58mm Tele has a 43mm thread on the front so that you can mount filters easily. SANDMARC does both a 1.33x and a 1.55x anamorphic lens, but this is the 1.55x. Again, we have the case, pouch, universal clip, and as well, the lens has a 43mm thread for mounting filters. So an anamorphic lens is a wide angle, but it's only wide at the sides. And this gives you an old school widescreen look for your photos and videos. The way it's designed, it squeezes in at the sides so that it will fit onto a standard 16:9 ratio. And then you're going to need to de-squeeze the video to get the correct aspect ratio later. You might find it easier to use an app like Blackmagic to de-squeeze the image for you, although that's for video only, but you could use the Moment camera app, which is for video and for photos. So here I'm just using the iPhone native app, but with the iPhone and anamorphic lens mounted to a Duin smartphone gimbal. And then afterwards, I brought it into CapCut, and then I just set the height to 65% to de-squeeze. Last time I tried using cinematic mode on the iPhone with a 1.55x Anamorphic, I was using the iPhone 14 Pro and the Freewell 1.55x Anamorphic, and in that case it actually worked without any issues. But I did not get the same result with the iPhone 15 Pro and the SANDMARC 1.55x. It just doesn't work at all. So I don't know if this is to do with the way the iPhone 15 Pro implements cinematic mode compared to the 14 Pro, or if there's something about the SANDMARC that just messes it up. But either way, I can confirm that this combination just doesn't work.